We're going to get started in just a minute or two. I wanted to remind those of you who just got here that we do have a sign-in sheet and where you're able to write down your email address. If we have any follow-up information for you, we want to be able to send that to you. Also, we have index cards here in the front. If you do have comments and questions, we're asking you to write those down on the index cards, and that's going to be the format of the meeting. Is going to be to go through the index cards and the questions and comments on the card. So feel free to come forward and grab those, and we'll get started. And give you just a minute or two to do that, and get started here in just a sec.
Getting information, but I think he's intimidated by the non-opposition. You know, and we have to get past that. We have to just make a decision. That's the big.
Okay, thank you, folks. We appreciate you being here. As I told the last group, it's no surprise to see such a great turnout from the community because we understand what an important issue this is to everyone. Just a couple items, housekeeping items before we get started. As I mentioned, we do have a sign-in sheet here. If you haven't signed in, feel free to do that on your way out if you would like to have any email correspondence that we might be sending out following the meeting. We have allocated 1 hour for the meeting. We're starting a little bit late, so we'll go a little bit past what we had originally scheduled so that you have the full time that we need to discuss the issue today. As many of you know, we had a meeting from 10 to 11 o'clock this morning with the proponents of the DWID. This meeting this afternoon is for those who are opposed to the DWID. And so we really want to get an uninterrupted view and uninterrupted comments from the community members of the community who are opposed to the DWID. So if you are here and you are a proponent of the DWID, we would just ask that you hold your comments for purposes of this meeting because we'd like to hear from the other side at this for this hour. Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. Yeah, my name is Andy Linton. I'm the ombudsman for the county. I know I've probably corresponded with you, a lot of you over the last several months. So, of course, we have Supervisor Galvin here seated up front, and also Jen Pokorski, who will be helping to answer some of the questions, our assistant county manager. So, thank you for the reminder. And we'd also like to express our gratitude to Reigning Grace Ranch for allowing us to use the facility today. Yeah, they deserve a big round of applause. And we want to just give them a couple minutes to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their facility. So I'll go ahead and give the microphone to them and allow them to do that.
Hi there, good afternoon. My name is Sage. I'm the barn manager here at Reigning Grace Ranch. We are a 501c3 that was started about 10 years ago by Chris and Amanda Moore. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here today. They started the ranch primarily to rescue horses and to rescue kids by using those horses. They actually, all of this when it was wild land, they're the ones who rounded up all those feral horses and took them in, and that's how the herd got started. So we're a kids ranch. We primarily focus on children who are in the foster care system or are at risk in some way. I'm gonna have Misty come up. She's our program director. She's gonna tell you a little bit about what's coming up in terms of our programs.
Hello, I am Misty. I'm the programs director here, obviously, should have said that. We have some different types of programs coming up. We have our one-on-one mentorship, which is called Wanted, and that's for kids from the age of 8 up to 18. And that's for kids just to come and experience the ranch and just kind of to help them develop skills. We really work with a lot of foster and at-risk kids, but we also teach writing lessons. We have group classes sometimes as well. We do group wrangler classes for teenagers to come and just kind of spend time together, learn horsemanship. We really love helping people develop those horsemanship skills that they need. Whoa. Hello? We have a lot of people come here that just are beginner horsemen that would just love to learn horsemanship skills so they can own themselves. I'm working with a few people that are in those stages. So we have a lot of different areas that for kind of anybody. So did I miss anything?
No, just again, we're a 501c3, we're a horse rescue, so all those horses you see out there have been rescued from lots of different situations. We've got Budweiser horses and Secretariat babies and the whole nine out there. We are on your Arizona tax credit list, so we like to point that out. So you are able to do that through donating through our website, or if you go onto our social media, we do have links to that, and we'll be walking around. We've got cards if anyone's got any questions or interested in volunteering. We are ran almost 100% on volunteers. We've got about 150 that come throughout the week, and then 3 staff members currently. Quick couple housekeeping. We have no problem with you going out, meeting the horses. They'll come up, they'll say hi. Please don't go in the paddocks. And for the bathrooms, the keys are attached to the door. Just turn them, take the big keys in with you, and then put them back in the door when you're done, so we don't lock them inside. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So went over a few of the housekeeping rules. Again, if you want to write your questions, comments down the card, we still have some up here in the front. And without further ado, we want this to be your time, so we want to jump right into the questions and comments. But first, I want to go ahead and give the microphone to Supervisor Galvin for his comments.
Thank you, Amy. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. Thank you for having me. Thank you to the ranch. This is an amazing thing that you guys do here for the horses and for the kids. So it's been an honor to be here. And then it's an honor for me to meet with all of you in person. I just want to let everyone know, in case you don't know, that I was appointed on December 8th, less than 2 months ago. Today's February 4th. And literally from the first hour since my appointment, I've been getting hit with a lot of emails about this situation up in the Rio Verde Foothills. But I was already aware of it when I did apply, and I spoke with the Board of Supervisors for my application. And I was reading the stories, I was reading the Facebook group posts. I know a lot that was going on. So when I got appointed, I knew the problem. At the time, I didn't exactly know what the solutions would be, but you guys have been tremendous, because I have read every single email that has come my way. And in fact, I read all of them yesterday. So I've read the emails from folks who are pro-DWID, and I've read the emails from folks who are anti-DWID, or I would say have concerns about the DWID. I've also met with Karen and her team, who are proponents of the DWID, and I've also met with Christy and her team, who have concerns about the DWID. I think the priority here is that we have to find a resolution, right? We have to find an answer. And I know that this community has been riven by what I would consider to be years of inaction. But now that the city of Scottsdale has informed the community that they're not going to deliver water to the standpipe on December 31 of this year, and I'm a supervisor this year, time is of the essence. The deadline is looming. So we need to figure it out. The other thing I want to say is that the first meeting we had this morning, I thought went really, really well. A lot of good questions were posed. I think county staff here did a terrific job of answering the questions, and I think that's going to happen again today. I also understand that there's a lot of, hurt feelings and a little bit of animosity. People in these emails sometimes send me screenshots of these Facebook and social media posts. But I really hope, and my goal here as a county supervisor representing all of you, is that we can work together as a community, okay? We're all in this together. I'm in this with you, and we're gonna arrive at a solution together. The other thing I wanna say is that, and I said this earlier to the other groups, you might hear the same joke twice, is that Ronald Reagan said the most dangerous 9 words in the English language is, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. So I'm gonna say to you, I'm Thomas Galvin from Maricopa County, I'm here to help. But in that same respect, I also believe that it takes leadership, and it takes being honest, and it takes looking you in the eye. And I'm not gonna tell people what they wanna hear, I'm gonna tell people what I've found, what I've discovered, what I've researched, and at some point the decision is gonna fall on me in my office, but I'm gonna be doing it in consultation with people that I work with, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna say this is the answer. And I hope you respect me for that answer, because I'm gonna treat all of you with respect. And either way, that answer is gonna be 1, a long-term, a sustainable source of water. 2, I wanna know how much it costs. And 3, I wanna make sure that that water source is gonna be something you can rely on for decades to come for this community. And so I think those are very important questions. So the questions about where's the water coming from, how much is it gonna cost? Those are huge questions. I worked at the Corporation Commission for 4 years. I dealt with a lot of complicated rate cases across the state. I'm also an attorney in private practice. I've dealt with land use issues, water issues. I've seen a lot of interesting issues come across my desk in that way. But in all of the issues where water is difficult, it's always a uniquely different situation. And so this is a very unique situation. In Rio Verde Foothills, this community is very unique. And I know that your lifestyle is very important to you. Your property is very important to you. For those of you who have wells, I know that's very important for you too. And property rights is very important. So all of those aspects I totally get and I understand. So I don't want to take up too much time, but I just want to say that we're going to continue the dialogue. We're going to continue working. And one of the big questions that's been asked of me is when are you going to make a decision, right? This deadline is coming soon. It's a deadline that I didn't set, the city of Scottsdale set, so we have to deal with it. And as I told the group earlier this morning, I hope that we have a decision within 3 months. That's my hope, okay? Hopefully sooner. I hope it's not after that, because obviously there's going to be other considerations involved, but that's what we're working towards. And so I look forward to hearing from you. I know you're going to ask very good questions, because the emails you've sent have been very well written, very thoughtful, and for the most part, very polite. So thank you so much, and I appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
Okay, so without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into the index cards. And the group up here will be doing our best to answer the questions and respond to the comments. So the first card, I think Supervisor Galvin just may have answered this question. How long until you finally come up with a solution, and what is your deadline date? So in reference to hoping to have a decision in 3 months, of course, that's obviously in reference to the voting on the DWID. Another solution, we're well aware that Scottsdale has set the deadline to cut off water before the end of the year. And so we understand that a solution needs to be in place to keep water coming to the community before that timeline hits. Anything else after that? Next card, one can always get more information. Oh, thanks. When will you have enough investigation or information? I think that's related to the last question in terms of time. And I will emphasize what Supervisor Galvin said about this being a priority for the county and for county staff. It has been at the top of our list for some time now. Next question, has EPCOR agreed to service us with a standpipe if they can get water? How many sources of water can they get?
Hi, good afternoon. It's nice to see. I see some familiar faces. I think I've been out here a few times. And as I've said in previous meetings, I will do my best to answer questions with the information that I know off the top of my head. But for questions that come up that I don't know the answer, I will take it back and find out and get back to you. So if you haven't already signed in with an email, please do that, or come up to me and get my card, and that way I can get any specific info to you that I may not know at this time. But for this question, and this also relates to a question that I was asked before the meeting started, can EPCOR or Global legally serve this area? I don't see any legal obstacles to them serving this area. I think the question is if they have water that's available and if they're willing to serve. And there are a variety of sources and that I understand that are available, but we would have to get some more information on that and get back to you. But there is water that they can access under their existing portfolio. A lot of that water is well water. And currently right now, the DWID has proposed importing water from the Harquahala Valley. That is water that is not available to EPCOR or Global as it stands, can only be imported by a municipal organization. But there is a current bill in front of the state legislature that would change that would allow a private water company to import that water. And I believe Christy Jackman has shared that information with the community about how you can express your support for that bill if you are so interested.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Next card says, I currently own land with a well on it. If the DWID is approved, does the DWID have the right to seize my well? Or if a well is added after the approval of the DWID, is that well considered exempt?
So in state statute, an exempt well is a well that produces under 35 gallons per minute. I do not believe that the DWID could prevent someone from drilling an exempt well. What was the other?
How about drainage?
Oh, could the DWID have the right to seize the well? The DWID does have the power of condemnation. It is unclear on if they could condemn a well. That is some of the information that we are still looking into, but the DWID does have condemnation authority and could condemn outside of its boundaries. Oh, yeah,
I'm sorry, we actually have to leave pretty soon. I have one question.
Okay.
Do you have, of course, you're going to have eminent domain. Okay, you will obviously, there's thousands of square or acre feet of water right up underneath. All right, my well is sweet, clear, whatever. 10 miles down the road, you dropped a 1,000-foot well. Okay, it's going to take for my well under the drainage law. They go all the way back to the petroleum industry. You drop whatever you want down here, but you're going to wind up having to drop here, and you're going to artificially manipulate the water property.
So I'll repeat it so everyone can hear. He's asking that if the DWID or somebody would drop another well, it could drain his well. So that is a concern we've heard from many people. ADWR, before you drop a new well that is not an exempt well, you do have to do studies to determine the impact on that new well to surrounding wells.
Oh, yeah, you'll be 10 miles down the road. It doesn't relate. I mean, you can artificially manipulate the property out here because of water. Why do you think City of Scottsdale put up this thing so you can come up and have an agreement? They cannot pull any more permits without water. So you're going to be dropping big wells out here. I know you are. It's the same thing that happened in Texas, Michigan, all the other places. I've lived in those places. And Florida.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I understand that this is a topic that everyone is very passionate about. I get it. The county does not, so he's for those that haven't heard, he's saying that he's concerned that we're going to drop new wells out here. So the county is not a water provider. The county does not drill wells or will drill wells to provide water. But ADWR does have a process to analyze the impact of new wells on existing wells.
Aren't you Jennifer with DWID?
No, I'm Jennifer Bokorski. I work for Maricopa County.
I didn't understand.
Yeah. I'm sorry. So thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. So I am just here to provide some neutral technical information to help understand kind of the variety of issues. And if I don't have that information, I will certainly research it and get back to you. So thank you for asking.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, this is a county-led meeting. The county put this together. So we're all representatives from the county here up front. And sir, your comments are certainly appreciated. I've been hearing from constituents, corresponding with the number of constituents who share the concerns. In fact, the next card I think touches on that a little bit too. It says, the well homeowners don't want a solution that pulls from their wells or aquifers. They don't want a local well drilling solution. A hauled water solution from outside source would be the best solution because there will be no threat to the current well homeowners. And don't the local hauled water homes feed the local aquifers? So hauled water is needed to feed the aquifers. So yeah, that's a similar concern, is that whatever solution is put forward, I think I don't want to say there's total consensus in the community, but I think I've had a lot of consistent comments about wanting to bring an outside water source into the community as opposed from drawing from the local aquifer. And I've heard that from both sides. So I've heard pretty much consent. I haven't heard to the contrary on that. Can the DWID laws be rewritten to amend some of the rules?
So that's a good question. So the DWID's powers are outlined in state statute. So one of the questions, because condemnation is a big concern, And one of the questions that we posed to the county attorney was if the Board of Supervisors had the power to limit the DWID's authority to condemn. And that answer is no. It would have to be the DWID would have to limit its own authority, perhaps through its bylaws. So the only other, any changes to the DWID statute would have to be done through the state legislature.
Next question, can Harquahala Valley enact drought restrictions that would prevent wheeling the water outside of their area?
So that's a good question. My understanding, and we'll put this in our follow-up on email. My understanding though is how the Harquahala transfer works is in state statute, any land that was irrigated as of, I believe it's 1980 in Harquahala, is able, the water that's associated with that land is able to be wheeled or moved outside of that sub-basin. So I believe it would be a change in state law, but we will get the specific information for you on that.
Okay. This is related to a question I think that we've asked. Under what circumstances would a DWID condemn a well? And I think Jen must be.
And that, you know, as the county, we wouldn't have an answer as to when or why the DWID would condemn a well. But we will also have a more follow-up specifically on that question in with the emails that I mentioned before. It's related to an earlier question.
Okay, are there any other non-contiguous DWIDs in Arizona with hundreds of separate parcels?
I am not aware of any, but I will also, you have a lot of good questions. It's kind of like stumping me today. But no, I am not aware of any, but we will get you that answer as well.
Yeah, in our early research, we didn't find any, but something may have changed, so we'll have to look into that.
There's some where there's non-contiguous like blocks of parcels, but I'm not aware of one where it's multiple parcels.
Yeah, we'll look into it. There very well could be. Initially, we were looking for information on trying to understand the concept and did a little bit of research, but we'll look into it a little bit more. Has the DWID provided a roadmap of their plans with itemized cost? Has that plan been confirmed as viable?
So the DWID has not provided a recent update for their specific costs, but we would ask for that information if this were to be and when it would be put on an agenda for a board vote. It would be part of the packet, that would be part of the public meeting information that would go out.
A private water hauler cannot cut off the water to Rio Verde, so why is EPCOR purchasing from Harquahala not a good solution? Or can the statute be amended to allow Maricopa County to purchase and provide water?
I see, that looked like a two-parter. So I'm not sure about a private private hauler cannot cut off water to Rio Verde. I'm not, maybe I don't understand that question, but EPCOR currently cannot purchase water from Harquahala. The state statute only allows the purchase of water by a municipal entity, which would be like a city or a DWID. A DWID is considered a municipal entity. The statute could be amended to allow EPCOR, and that's a bill that's currently in there, and Maricopa County, the second part of this question, also currently cannot purchase water and give it to EPCOR, and that statute could be amended too if the legislature so chose to do.
And when will they vote on that?
The last I saw it was moving through committee. I know, Christy, you're following it very closely. Have you seen any movement out of that committee on the bill?
I'm actually struggling to follow it. It says last I saw, the natural resources, the vote said passed. And that was the holdup, and it said it was 7-5.
Yeah.
But it also still says hold. So
Yeah.
it has both on there, and I'm not clear
Okay.
where they're at.
We can find out for you and keep the community informed on that. I know there was a revision to the bill, but the revision did not change the substance of the bill.
Correct.
It still allowed the private water company to buy it. But I'll get you the bill number right now as we speak. I'll text somebody, so it may take a couple minutes. There's two, yeah, there's two companion bills. I think one in the House, one in the Senate.
One is 2055, that is the Senate.
Yeah, 2055.
SB 2055 and HB 1147.
1147, right. And they are scheduled to be voted on prior to the end of this legislative session. So prior to your 30-day or your 90-day.
And they've gotten tons of emails in support. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of interest in both bills, and the comment was that they'll vote on it before the end of the legislative session, which makes a lot of sense. Next question: where will the DWID get the water? Will there be more or less straws in the ground? I think is what they're saying here. What are the alternative sources for water haulers? And then what happened to SB 1147? And that's referencing the bill. So the proposal, as Jen mentioned, I think she touched on this, the proposal from the DWID right now is to obtain water from Harquahela and have that brought into the community. There are alternatives that the county is currently exploring as well. EPCOR is one of those alternatives, and I'm going to give the microphone to Jen to talk a little bit about what alternatives the county is looking at.
So can I see the question? I was just texting someone back at the office to try to get the most up-to-date on the bills. So the proposal for the DWID, as we understand it, is that they would be getting water from Harquahela. So I don't know how many are familiar. I can explain a little bit about the Harquahela water. Should I? Okay. So.
I don't know what that is.
Okay. So the Harquahela water is the Harquahela subbasin, which is far southwest, so out and west, is there's landowners in that subbasin that have the right to sell that land and the water rights associated with it. State statute allows people to transfer the water out of the Harquahela subbasin into other subbasins. There are a number of steps that need to occur before that water can be transferred. And that includes, first of all, Queen Creek, the town of Queen Creek has purchased some of that land for the water. They're really the first purchase on the books. The next steps that have to happen is the Department of Water Resources has to do a study to determine how much water can be removed from that land. Then, and some of these steps are parallel, they can happen at the same time. They're not necessarily sequential. So the next step is the water has to get from the ground into the Cap Canal. That'll be done from how we understand right now through EPCOR. EPCOR would build wells out there, drill wells out there and build an treatment plant, because you have to treat the water to meet the water quality standards that are for the CAP canal. Build pipes that would move into the CAP canal. Then that water would be wheeled, the Central Arizona Project Canal is what I'm saying, CAP. Then that water would be wheeled through the Central Arizona Project Canal to whoever bought it, and then they would go to their turnout. So the DWID is proposing that that water would be wheeled, is the term they use, to Scottsdale, where Scottsdale would treat it to drinking water standards. And then the DWID would have that water piped from Scottsdale to a stand pipes somewhere in the area, and then served through water hauler trucks. So that would be an outside water source coming into this community under the DWID's current proposal. The Harquahela water, there's some hurdles that still need to be overcome. Obviously, ADWR has to do the study. This water quality issue that is out there has to be resolved. The Bureau of Reclamation, which is a federal agency that controls that canal, they have to set water quality standards for that canal. There's a lawsuit out there regarding water quality standards. They have to do environmental assessment, which is a federal process, which takes time. So the soonest that water could start moving is maybe 2024, 2025. All this kind of has to align. That's the water.
Where does the water come from?
The what?
So even if you made a decision today, you wouldn't be able to get Harquahala Valley water by the end of the year. So where will the water come from by the end of the year? And has Scottsdale done a formal written agreement to provide that water through the standpipe until 2024, 25 when this infrastructure is complete?
So I'll finish this question and then I'll repeat yours. No problem. And I'll repeat yours and answer it. So that water would probably come, 2025. EPCOR is a private water company. They have a series of different water systems, for lack of a better word, through Arizona, New Mexico, I think Utah or Colorado. And they are a private water company, just like Global, which some out here may know as the Water Utility of Northern Scottsdale. They serve the subdivisions that are west of here and I think north of Rio Verde. They are private water companies which are regulated by the Arizona Corporation Commission. The Arizona Corporation Commissioners are elected by all of us, and they set rates for water use. So if you are an EPCOR customer, they set your rate. You have the ability, if they have to develop a rate case, you have the ability to comment on that rate, comment on basically how that utility is run. The question that he asked is, if this water from Harquahala isn't moving, what happens December 31st? Is there an agreement with Scottsdale? There is not an agreement or a contract with Scottsdale right now to extend the water past December 31st, but there are a lot of options on the table that are being looked at as to how to provide water to this area. And if I were to list the three options that are most feasible that are on the table right now, is the DWID, having EPCOR serve, or having Global Water serve.
Okay, the next question is, if a DWID is approved, and this person expresses that they oppose, why can't we sign up after? Forcing us to sign up now without complete information, instead of forcing us to sign up now without complete information. It's my understanding that according to statute, nothing would prevent individuals from joining the DWID after it is formed. It's my understanding also that it's the intent of those looking to form the DWID that to acquire initially an extra amount of water in anticipation of people wanting to join, in anticipation of growth in the community. So I think that's... If EPCOR is the solution, could they drill additional wells in the Rio Verde Foothills?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know the exact answer. EPCOR's wells are primarily down by the river currently, and they have agreements with SRP as to how much water they can take out of there, because their wells are in this zone which interacts with SRP's water rights with surface water. So, but any well, any big commercial wells, I should say, that get drilled have to go through a process of determining well impact. But these questions related to wells and drilling new wells and the impact of wells was something that also came up this morning in the DWID meeting. It is a big concern, and one which is, why we're out here is to understand all these concerns, but it's one that we need to find more answers on and give those answers to the community.
Next question is, what other options do we have? Why can't we get water from Trilogy or where they get it? Why can't we get it from Fountain Hills?
Good question. So Trilogy gets their water from EPCOR, which is Rio Verde Utilities, and Fountain Hills gets their water from EPCOR as well. So if EPCOR is a solution, it would, it's because they're already in this area serving.
Okay, and this is a comment, with, I think with the question at the end. The DWID demonized EPCOR in the first meeting and their flyer as a public foreign company, yet they acknowledge EPCOR would be contracted in the DWID proposal. Why is it good for the DWID but not for direct service? Next comment is about, I'm going to kind of paraphrase this one, conflicts of interest for individuals who are proposed to be members of the board for the DWID. And the only thing I'll comment there is that they would have to meet all statutes. The statutes are very specific about formation of the DWID and board members and participation, so they would have to meet all statutory requirements.
Read the question as I wrote, please. Read the question as I wrote it, please.
Okay, will do. Does John Joas, working for Newmark Homes, a so-called wildcat builder, present a conflict of interest for him to be on the initial board? His brother, Gary, is field operations manager at Newmark. So again, the same answer, that it would have to meet, you'd have to comply with the law, and that's what the county would be looking at, and that's what the DWID would be required to follow. And I do have your card next. And it's about land and water trusts. And so, Lisa, if you could comment on that. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to repeat everything you say, Lisa. Do you want?
Come up to the front now. Yeah.
Yeah, if you could introduce yourself too, Lisa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Wicks, married name Grillo. I live over on 169th. I did not think I had a horse in this race when I moved here. Turns out I do. So I have been to these water meetings. I came to the pro-DWID. I went to the opposition. I've now made up my mind. Hopefully that's what all of you are here for. I am not an attorney. I am not a public speaker. I am not a government official. I'm one of you guys. I live on 169th. I have hauled water. I have horses in the area with one gentleman specifically. His well now has been compromised because of all the wildcat building and the wells being sunk. He is now on hauled water. Try to support a horse training business on that. So a few things. People have been asking DWID questions. In the summer, I don't know how many of you were over at Storybook Ranch. It was an 80-20 vote to no DWID. And the county, you'll say yes to this, if he had to vote today, he said he would say no. That gentleman is no longer with us. However, we know that the DWID is not a popular situation in this area. My apologies to the people doing the DWID. My other question is, this has been going on for years, and the county still doesn't have answers. We still don't have a business plan from the DWID. The state isn't here. We should have soil conservation. This summer we were told that we would have a geological done by ASU. We keep talking about wells and water and where it's coming from, but it's like building the foundation to a house. If you don't know the answer, how do you even start to build the foundation? So, to continue on, yes, I will, but I had to answer that first. So my solution earlier on was to create a land/water trust. You can look them up. Florida.gov will tell you step by step how to create them. Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, Block Island on the East Coast all have land trusts, okay? They're doing water trusts out west all the time, including land trusts. What would that mean to Rio Verde? A, instead of watching your property values go in the toilet because we have no water, it would raise your property values because it would be a 3% of your purchase price that you would pay additionally to the land/water trust. okay? What that does is it protects the vistas that we all moved out here for and from preventing box stores moving in, but it also saves your water. It also slows down the wildcat developers. It doesn't mean you can't sell your land, because with a funded land trust, we as the land trust, this community, we can go purchase at fair market value that open land, keeping the houses off it. We can lease back to the cattlemen and horsemen. That keeps it grazed. It keeps the wildfires down. The other portion of it would go to funding water. A, we don't know how much water we're sitting on or not sitting on here. B, we don't know where we're gonna get it from. C, if you did do a DWID, that's millions of dollars that you're going to invest. Whose back is that coming off of? A DWID is never financial soluble from all the reading I've done. So a land/water trust would indefinitely put money there for us to get water and protect the land that we so love. It does that, it affects nobody living here currently. The only person that is charged that tax is the person purchasing the property. Does that make sense? So nobody would be affected other than the people coming in.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. That would have been a lot for me to repeat, so I appreciate you coming forward. Next comment question on the card says, with the concerns of the DWID costs, how do we know that an EPCOR or Global would not cost more, or that their fees would not increase over time? And I think the comment there is that the fees are all regulated by the Arizona Corporation Commission. So would we know that they would increase over time? They could, but it is regulated and there is oversight through the Arizona Corporation Commission.
If they're private companies, which they are, they have equity financing. Okay, a lot of us have SRP as our electric company. One of the reasons we have lower rates is because they don't have shareholder equity. So that's a consideration that people ought to think about as far as bringing private utility companies into the water.
Yeah, thank you. Just expressing his comments about having a private utility and some of the possible drawbacks there. And I know I heard someone call out the news article that was shared with the county, I think with Bullhead City, where they had contracted with EPCOR and then they switched back to the city taking that over. Regarding raw land, so next question on the cards, regarding raw land, did not sign up for the DWID. If the DWID is approved and I sell my land, can new owners join the DWID? And it's my understanding that the joining the DWID goes with the parcel, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that the answer to the question is yes, the new owner could join the DWID or would be in the DWID. And there are mechanisms and statutes to get out of the DWID. I've had the question come to me too, if I've signed the petition and I want to get out of being on the initial petition, how do I do that? And there is a way to do that as well. If you're interested, I can share that information with you. Last card says, question was asked at the pro-DWID meeting, why can't another entity provide/obtain water, for example, Maricopa County? The answer was, it doesn't look possible. Please cite the legal opinion for this opinion.
So, state statute, and I don't know the reference offhand, but since the county is a subdivision of the state, the county can only do what the state authorizes it to do. And the state has not authorized counties to be a water provider. So the county cannot purchase water and give it to EPCOR or purchase water to sell it to folks out here.
I have a question for the attorney. Who's going to regulate the unreasonable usage of water? I mean, when Scottsdale processes the water, they can either sell it to them in dollars or gallons. So who is going, because water is going to go up, right? So is everything else, okay? but they can turn around and take that water and pay them in raw water and get the water treated. And then back here, who's gonna look after that? You know, that's an unreasonable use.
Let me repeat the question, make sure I got it. So who's going to regulate the use of water, the unreasonable use of water?
Right, at any point, of drawing it out of the ground, or turn it around for payment for processing water, who's gonna check the gallon? Per dollar per day, because that's rated. It's every day, it's gotta be adjusted, just like gasoline and power and everything else. I mean,
Are you referring to like a Global or EPCOR or one of the private water companies, or just
let's say,
the?
okay, it's put in the canal. Before it's put in the canal, it has to be processed. Okay, if it's taken out from here, it has to be processed somewhere. Well, it's gonna be processed in Scottsdale. Okay, they have other areas, like they used to have Planet Ranch, they used to have water rights and stuff that they treated, but they still have to process it before they give it to the people. So if we're going to get it, eventually, it's gonna have to be processed, because you can't sell dirty water. All right, so there has to be some kind of regulation. It can go, be paying too much in water gallon to what the people are getting.
So the question he's asking is who's going to regulate the water and the use of the water and the cost of the water? So if the DWID's proposal is that they would develop a rate for the DWID, for members of the DWID, and that is what they would charge you based on your usage. If you are with a private water company, that rate is set by the Arizona Corporation Commission. So they have to charge that rate. If they want to increase that rate, they have to do a rate case, which allows for public input at the Corporation Commission. And those are elected officials. I see a person who's been patiently have their hand up back there.
For people to enroll into the DWID. So, and their point was, if you didn't sign up initially, you don't sign the petition/contract now, then you will have to wait until their annual enrollment. And they made it clear at that meeting as well, that there would be increased fees at that point. They would increase the fees for anybody that does not sign up initially. The next annual enrollment. So my thing was, so my well goes dry in February, and their annual enrollment isn't until January of the next year. You've got this gap in time that you've got to figure out how to get water as well, and the DWID's not willing to concede or help with that because we don't know what the decision will be, and yet they've stated this in their meetings as to how they're going to manage it. What do I do? When I hear EPCOR, I feel like I have a solid water company that's going to provide me with water when I contact them, you know, and not with the DWID. Their policies and rules, regulations, whatever you want to call it, have not been established so that we know what we're up against in order to sign on a dotted line. And as I said, no signatures, there's nothing on paper yet. It's all hypothetical as to what is really going to happen when we go to paper. And the signatures are set. And that's very concerning, whereas I feel like EPCOR is established and we'll know what we're up against. We can read it, we can look at it, we can look at other communities and that kind of thing. But the DWID, we have no idea right now, and it changed from meeting to meeting. What they said was the situation, and I've never been a fan of something that they say is a petition that is a contract.
Thank you for your comments. I see someone behind you also.
There's a lot of options on the table. There's plenty of options on the table to solve the problem. And just me, as a citizen of this area, and I've been raised my kids here, we've lived here a long time. My plea is to you, the county, our representatives, to please do not give that much authority to 5 people over. our nation right now. This is one of the freest areas in the whole state. We're here, there's a lot of us here because of that. We don't want to give our rights up to 5 people that don't have to take our thoughts into consideration for them to make decisions on what they want to do. So please, you guys, please, this is a very pivotal moment for this community and the people that live here. Please don't give up our rights to 5 people.
Thank you for your comment. I think we're out of the cards I have up here, so I think we'll start going to the people, and before your hand wears out, I think the lady with the brown hair.
Okay, so I went up to the signing petition that the DWID had out on the road, and people were signing up for the DWID, and they were telling them, you know, scaring them, telling them they're going to be without water, etc. They would not let them read. They did not have anything for them to read. The 4-page contract that says that they get to lien your house to pay for unknown amounts of money. When I asked for it, they wouldn't give it to me either. I had to walk away, and then somebody came to talk to me, and eventually I was able to get that contract that everybody was signing the last page of, but nobody was reading, and they were walking away without it. Okay? Now, the thing is isn't it funny that Holly and Christy and I, the people that are most against this, were volunteers for the DWID. We were very involved. Okay? And, well, not me. No, okay, I'm sorry. But Holly and I. And the thing is that, you know, when you listen to some of the things they were saying, it was like, we want a DWID because nobody can control us. You guys can't control us. We can't control them. They make up their own rules, and whatever we signed to on those pages, which were crazy, you know, there was no limit. They said there is no limit. They literally said there's no limit to the spending because it has not been assessed yet. But people are signing up for that, and you get to lien their house, and in the meetings, they're all saying, the only way we can do this, we have to do a DWID so we can get the loans for these millions of dollars of infrastructure and what they're going to be doing. And it's like, well, those loans are coming from our equity, and I don't think people realize that.
Thank you for your comment. I'm going to go ahead and just briefly summarize what you said, because we do have a couple people joining us on the phone today. Her comment was that she didn't think people knew exactly what they were signing up for when they signed the petition. So thank you for your comment. Yes.
When we first had the petitions about a year ago, it ended up that we had 600 against and 200 for. And now suddenly it's more for than against. When I was coming down the hill at 136th Street, there's a big sign that says, "Save our wells." Well, that was not true. They're trying to get the DWID through. It has nothing to do with Save Our Wells. And there were many people who signed that petition not realizing that it was subterfuge, that it was fear. They were afraid they were going to lose their wells, and that's how they can save them.
Thank you for your comment. So the comment was that originally there were 600 against and a couple hundred that were for, and those numbers have since reversed essentially, and that a lot of people have signed the petition out of fear, information that they've generated. And the sign that was up that said "Save Our Wells."
They didn't read the fine print.
Yes.
There was no fine print.
Do
Well,
we
people don't
actually
read.
know, or do you know how many people are going to be affected by the cutoff? How many people living out here are actually going to lose their water as opposed to people who might have signed up because they thought it was an insurance policy? How many people are actually going to be affected, and how cost effective is a DWID with all the infrastructure involved to service the number of homes out here?
Thank you. So the question is, how many people will actually be affected by the Scottsdale water cutoff? And
we got something to our house because at one time we had there was dynamite bring water for a pool because we switched out the water in the pool. But that doesn't mean that we're a regular customer, that we exist on cold water.
Yeah. So our understanding is that we've heard estimates between 500 to 700 people on hauled water. But as you point out, sometimes it's people hauling for pools. What we do know is that there is approximately 150 acre feet of water being used. But
There's about 50. They're thinking they'll buy 148,000 and that will be their extra?
well, from the numbers that we get from Scottsdale and Global, we're talking about there's about 150 acre feet of water that's being pulled out of those standpipes.
Okay, so that actually means that the extra 50 that they think they could buy will not even remotely begin to serve the full community.
So we think it's between 100, 150 is a good number for what is being pulled from the standpipes right now.
And I'm personally also concerned with the number of developers that have signed up now. How many real people versus raw land that are now promised water so they can continue to build us out like this?
And by the way, I think this meeting is going great because these are really good questions. The secondary issue about the lot splits, I know that's a concern for everyone, and I do share that concern. And in fact, I want to share with you my background because I think it would kind of help color my answer here, is that I worked in commercial real estate development. I come from a family that's been involved in real estate development. But what I said when I got appointed is that I'm not pro-developer, I'm pro-market, right? And so what is appropriate for this market? And I understand completely the concern that I think everyone has here, regardless of the water situation. It is what is happening with this rampant development. And I think everyone's concerned about the future of their property and, of course, water availability. So I believe you guys had a meeting here a couple weeks ago and you heard from a state legislator who's kind of like, well, my hands are tied. And I do suggest that, you know, for your unique situation and unique beautiful area where you live is to engage with your state legislature because, in fact, as Jen pointed out earlier, the county is a subdivision of the state, right? We cannot make up what we're able to do. And so on the other hand, please engage with your state legislators. And what I would like to do is, regardless of this answer here regarding water, is beyond that, and I said this today in the earlier meeting, is to work with all of you to see if there's any sort of way, if possible, if there's a sort of legislation that would work, that we can make sure that, you know, we're not going to have what I would consider to be reckless, speculative building in light of a looming drought, water shortage, and or potential loss of the well. So I hope that's good.
Do you have a number of how many, sorry, do you have an actual number of how many real people signed up versus how many are speculators that have signed up?
The question was how many real people versus how many speculators. I don't have that number. But I definitely think, and this is another reason why I think it's essential to resolve this question here regarding this issue about whether or not to do a DWID or something else for water, is to then move on to that issue. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we received just a couple of cards. I'm going to fill in with some of the hands with a couple cards. This one says, why is the water exclusive to the DWID or EPCOR? Why not both?
So I think what that's asking is, can you form a DWID? And some people are served by the DWID, and then some people would be served by EPCOR. I am not aware of anything that would prevent that, but we can go back and make sure that that answer is correct and let you know.
I think that would depend on if we have
Yeah, right now, like in New River, they're served by an EPCOR standpipe, and they aren't within EPCOR CCNN. So that's a good point, Christy. Her point was, that's if they have to do CCNNs.
What was the point that you made, Christy? We didn't hear it.
I just said that if EPCOR had to do a CCNN up here to service us, then it couldn't be with the DWID because they would require the entire area. If it's just a standpipe, it probably could be both.
Okay, and the gentleman in the back in the white shirt.
Thanks for coming today from Rio Verde Foothills. The DWID is pretty much a fact at this point that the DWID doesn't really have a viable solution. It's more hypothetical. You're what if this, and if we get this done, it's jumping through a lot of hurdles that I don't feel that just regular people, the people that are proposing to be on the board, the DWID can handle. They don't have the monetary people that EPCOR has. They don't have the lawyer staff that EPCOR about that. They're not as big as that core, they are, they are. That's just not fact. And that course way bigger than they get the job done a lot faster, a lot more efficient. They're a private company for profit. It's what they do. There might be people that are not for profit companies, but they work the most efficient company that can operate. So they're good professionals when it comes to water management. Has anyone in the DWID ever managed water for a community before? The answer would probably be no. One person is a water hauler and hauled the water for being that, I've done my research on you, Supervisor. You seem like an honorable man, integrity. I'm glad that you're in the position now for our representative. I don't find that you're a man that would do the following. By allowing the DWID to be approved, you would be handing the problem off to an entity that doesn't have a true plan to get us down the road. And I don't think that you would ever do something like that. I believe that the problem needs to be at the county level with people that are held accountable. We can't hold the DWID accountable. We can hold our county supervisors accountable. They're elected by us, the people. Now on the FCOR side, this Rio Verde, the town, you know, how they get water, how Rainy Grace Ranch gets water from FCOR is through the Verde River watershed. I believe that it's been kind of misleading the way it's been said to the people by the DWID and numerous other people. That water being pulled out of the Rio Verde River watershed is not affecting your aquifer and your wells. Do your research on Wells 55, there's no website, there's a well in Trilogy. They get water 80 feet. That is not your aquifer. Your aquifer is 400 feet plus. So they're pulling off of water that's shedding from the river, however far in. There's not been a study done. But I would assume that there is ample water, tenfold for this community off of that river. Take a drive down there. So that's more of a comment than a question, but I hope.
No, appreciate the comments. I'm just going to repeat it quickly for the individuals on the phone who said that EPCOR has the resources and expertise to manage water in Rio Verde. Gentleman expressed that the DWID doesn't have that same those same resources and expertise, and also expressed that the watershed down near the Rio Verde is actually Rio Verde water and not pulling from the, Verde River water and not pulling from the aquifer in Rio Verde. Does that give you a head nod to get that? Okay, all right, that was a lot, so thank you. How about here in the front?
I just, first of all, want to say thank you to Christy. She has given us helped us decide what's going on. Number two, I have been to almost every meeting since the very beginning when this started with Annie Hodgkins. And it started was to form an idea and different options to get this done. And then before we know it, there is a DWID. It's all formed, it's gone to the, supervisor, and in my opinion, it's been unethical and fear-based. And we can't get straight answers to make a logical decision. And every time we find out something, it's either more penalties because of not, your well goes out and then you can't join it for a year or whatever the case may be. But it's been very difficult to figure out what's really going on, and it's always a different answer every time you ask. So I hope we figure this out. I know we can do this with either EPCOR or somebody else and make it work.
Thank you for your comment. I think we have time for 3 more questions. If we can go ahead and take the 3 hands that are here on this side. Go ahead, sir.
The one thing with EPCOR that I just learned recently, actually earlier this morning, was Bullhead City, where Bullhead City wants to get rid of EPCOR. There's a lawsuit against them. So far, it's already cost them $80 million. So something's going on with EPCOR. I don't know very much about it, but that was an interesting fact. why is Bullhead City getting rid of EPCOR? It's costing them $80 million, it's not done. What's going on? That's just something to tell. Again, that's just information I just gained.
Yeah, there's he's referencing, and you can find the articles in the newspaper. He's referencing a situation in Bullhead City with EPCOR. Let's see, sir.
Yes, sir. First of all, my thanks for this open collaboration and goodwill. I do a lot of work overseas with nations that are fighting amongst themselves. I've never seen anything like this. I'm proud to be an American and an Arizonan. I'd like to ask a question about chain of custody and responsibility by government. It's in the following context. It's very easy for any of us to get lost in process. Acronyms, names, private business, DWIDs. We can't lose sight of the fact that we are in an open-ended era of declining water resources. We have children and grandchildren to keep in mind. It's not about paying the bill next month and so forth. It's about a sustainable solution. My question is, who, by name, is in the chain of custody and responsibility in government to make sure that there is a sustainable solution, because we're taxpayers. And government has a responsibility to make sure that our goodwill and our well-being is taken care of. I don't care about EPCOR. I don't care about DWID. I care about, by name, the chain of custody that's responsible for good governance. And we need to know who that is so that it's clear that the responsibility is on their shoulders. And the responsibility is the imperative for them to collaborate amongst themselves in goodwill for the well-being of the people.
Thank you for your comment. So the question for those joining on the phone is, who by name is responsible for the long-term solution for the area, the water solution?
Government.
That's an excellent question. So in unincorporated areas, the water, the way the state statute is set up is that people, Arizona is a private property rights state. I think someone put it well before that. This is a very free state, and this state allows you to build on your property if you do not have a well or if you are not hooked up to a utility. It allows you to haul your water in so that you can build in rural areas. It makes sense in a lot of areas in Arizona. Now, as you said, we are in a time of declining water supplies, and the state is who controls where you can build, and the state is also who controls and oversees water rights. So there was a meeting a couple of weeks ago that the DWID folks hosted that Representative Kavanaugh was at, and he explained how the state process works and how the legislative process works. But as you know, being in unincorporated county right now, that is why, you know, Supervisor Galvin is engaged. That's why all of us are engaged to try to look at what solutions are out here, working with the community who I think you all subscribe to, you know, this is pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of area, and have been working very hard to come up with a solution and working very hard to share information. You know, Christy, as someone pointed out, has shared a lot of information. And so because of that, I think there are 3 options out there that are continuing to be explored to solve this problem.
That didn't answer my question.
Yeah.
I asked for the by name, chain of custody and responsibility.
So
there's a good reason.
the by name, so the county is not a water provider?
I'm not interested in an organization or process. I want to know the names of the individuals that are responsible in the chain of custody to work together for a solution. It's a simple question.
So who are the people that are out here working for a solution right now? Is that
the responsible authorities who must work together for a durable solution? There's a finite number of them. Who are they?
And it sounds like a tough answer, but the county is here to facilitate that. They are not required to do that. The state puts a lot of that onus on the private property owner to secure water for their parcel. So that is why I think the DWID folks said, hey, here's an option for us to control our own destiny and develop a DWID to supply water to us. The rest of the community has a lot of concerns about that because they feel that the DWID powers are overreaching. It's creating another layer of government out here. So a lot of the onus does come back to the property owner, and that's by design to allow the property owner to have a lot of personal rights. But from who controls water law in the state, and if there needs to be a change in how that responsibility is divvied up among governments, that would have to be a state legislative change, and that would go to your state representatives. But as for now, who's working on trying to get a solution, that would be us at the county. But as to if we have the authority to or the obligation to provide that, the answer is not according to state statute.
And then a few people commented up here, the short answer would be your legislator. So let's see, let's see. Gentleman with the beard, I don't think you've commented yet.
I have real simple things, so I don't understand lots of this stuff. But I want to say, I'm curious. So we're talking about water availability from the RX area over here. I'm from Idaho, I'm not from Idaho. So, and municipalities can pull water out of that area. Is that correct? Okay, well, so Mesa or Scottsdale, why cannot the county, now I understand it's state law, okay? So you have us rooting for something over here that the state legislature is going to allow private entities to pull out the same water area. And why aren't we rooting for something the state legislature allows the county to do so? It seems to me like that would be real simple, rather than get a private entity involved in that part to get that water into the canal to us, as opposed to those people that we pay taxes on.
Yeah.
So I think the question, just to repeat to everyone, make sure I captured it, is that the state legislator is putting something to allow private water companies to move water. Why doesn't the state legislature do something to allow the county to move water? Correct? Correct. So, I mean, that would be a question I would direct to your representative, which is Representative Kavanaugh out here, and I don't recall your senator. You
I can't vote in the state, so I have to do about that. Would the gentleman to your right please explain why they can't get involved and promote that idea?
Yeah, I think Jen did a good question, an answer of saying that the county is constrained to what it can and can't do. You know, one of the questions I heard, or one of the ideas I heard was offered last year, was that the county would obtain funds to then purchase the water, and as we found out, it can't, right? So the issue here is that the city of Scottsdale was delivering water to folks through the standpipe, and the city of Scottsdale itself says, well, we're not going to deliver any more water to non-residents. The county itself is not a water provider. The county has specific powers that are granted to it under the state constitution and state statute, because the state legislature basically will control what the county can or can't do. So we're in a unique position where we are constrained by what we can do, right, under the state constitution. However, let's say a DWID would be able to be formed by the county board of supervisors, and if for whatever reason, I've looked at the statutes, if for whatever reason the DWID becomes a disaster, the county board of supervisors would have the power to take back control of the DWID. Now, on the other hand, if the county chooses not to approve the DWID, then the folks that have this issue of where they're going to obtain water would have to go somewhere else. So basically, they would have to go out and meet and work with a company like Global or EPCOR, which is a private company. Global and EPCOR's rates are regulated by the Corporation Commission. And when I worked at the Corporation Commission, the joke was we're the fourth branch of government. It's a constitutional agency that's unique in Arizona. The 5 commissioners of the Corporation Commission are elected statewide. They serve for 4 years. These rate cases, where let's say a company like EPCOR Global would want to have a change in rates and most likely an increase in rates, is what I would call a litigated case, where they would call RUCO, which is the Residential Utility Consumer Office, will then weigh in as a party to the case and say, well, they're asking for X, but we think they should get X minus 3, let's say, for example. And then, of course, any residents, or what I call ratepayers, who are subject to that territory of that private company would also have the ability to weigh in. And when I worked at the Corporation Commission, I dealt a lot on what I call constituent issues of hearing people who would say, hey, I'm a global customer, I'm an EPCOR customer, I'm an APS customer, please don't let them raise their rates to this amount. We think the rate should be this, right? And so that process would take 6 months, 9 months to a year, depending on how big the company is. So that's what would happen for if Global or EPCOR is delivering the water, that you would have recourse to the Corporation Commission, a state agency. I hope that answers your question. And I think since we ran long, I just want to deliver what I would call my closing remarks. And this is a terrific meeting. The first meeting I thought was a terrific meeting. But as you can see here, I'm hearing a lot of good information, and I'm hearing a lot of good arguments, and I've heard a lot of good questions. And frankly, I think a lot of the questions and arguments that were posed today have given a lot for us to work with. The issue here is that, okay, someone keeps raising their hand. I'm going to allow you to speak one more time. Yeah.
I think when you look at the DWID, it's a Band-Aid on a problem. And just like building a house, if you don't build a solid foundation, then that problem goes on in perpetuity. So I think what we really need to do as residents is build that solid foundation. And we need to have more meetings. Don't just fast track the DWID because it's sitting there. We've got to find the right answer.
Right, and so someone who just spoke, thank you so much, said they don't believe that the DWID is a long-term solution. And so I'm just going to address what I said to everyone at the beginning of this meeting and what I said at the other meeting. I want to find a long-term solution for a water source. I also want to make sure that everyone's property rights are protected and that everyone feels that they were listened to and heard and respected. And third, I want to make sure that this is a long-term solution. And I've given interviews before. I spoke with Channel 3 a couple weeks ago, and I said I don't want to kick the can down the road. But obviously there has to be a solution found, and it has to be done soon. And what I told the last meeting is that I'm not a talker, I'm a doer. And so I've been working on this absolutely since day one, since I got appointed in the first week of December. I called this priority number one. And you can see here that Jen and Andy and our team are all over this, and I think they did a terrific job in answering these questions, which show that they've done the research, and I've been relying on them to learn as much as I can. I also want to point out that I truly believe that the people who want the DWID, and I also believe that people who are leading the efforts against the DWID, I think both of them are acting in good faith. I think both of them are trying to do right by the community and are trying to find an answer, and I absolutely respect them. I think the meetings I've had with them have been absolutely terrific. They've been very informative. I think they have been very respectful to me, and I hope I've been respectful to them. And so I think as a community, we just need to work together and to figure this out and what overall is the best solution for everyone, for people who are afraid about losing water and about people who are afraid about any infringement of their rights. And so I'm really happy to meet you all here. Thank you for coming. I'm really glad we did this. I was looking forward to this very much. And as someone said, I hope there's more meetings, and I think there will be. So thank you and have a great day.